So the last Nintendo Direct showed off quite a few new games, or re-releases or remasters of cult classics, and not just a new Fire Emblem fighter in Smash. So it seems it was quite a good show. But, as with every Nintendo Direct, people still found a reason to be pissed off. It's the same thing every time. People hype up a stupid advertising segment and get disappointed when not every prediction holds true. Yeah, I don't watch these things. I believe I only watched one single Nintendo Direct, and that was the one where they unveiled the Nintendo Switch and showed off its features. But I don't need to tune in to a mystery news segment where they make some announcements I can read about the next day without all the fluff. So, what was the problem with the last Nintendo Direct? Well, they announced a new Mario Kart DLC. Instead of revealing Mario Kart 9, they announced that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will receive 48 new and remastered classic racing courses. It was worded a bit unclearly whether all the racing tracks are remastered versions of existing courses or if some of them will be original tracks, and whichever one of the two turns out to be true affects the argument a bit, but regardless of that, I'd argue that the decision to release a bunch of quote-unquote new tracks for Mario Kart 8, as many tracks as are already in the game, effectively doubling the course selection, was a good one, arguably better than releasing a new Mario Kart game. And don't get me wrong, of course I'm looking forward to a new iteration of Mario Kart that potentially comes with new mechanics and improves on old ones. But let's be honest here. The Switch isn't powerful enough to improve very much on MK8 on a technical level, or when it comes to the visuals. So all it could do would be to throw out the anti-grav mechanic and substitute it with another gimmick. The playable characters would be the same ones we get with every Mario Kart game, and my guess is that it would even be fewer characters in a new game than there are in Mario Kart 8 right now. Same with the levels. We'd get 4 new cups and 4 throwback cups, but for the sake of the argument, let's say they'd include 48 tracks in a new MK iteration. We'd still have to pay full price for a new game that adds very little. It's justified, of course, because the expense at Nintendo's end is far greater. They'd have to create new models and animations for characters and cards. Maybe they'd include a different car assembly system. They'd have to create new menus and some minor systems, maybe some new multiplayer modes, and all that in addition to creating a bunch of new courses. So, of course they'd sell it for a premium price. But as I said, we as customers get very little out of this. There won't be a massive graphical overhaul. We won't get a 4K 120 FPS experience. Even if characters were remade from scratch, we wouldn't really notice the differences, especially not during gameplay. So a whole lot of work and the costs are for naught. But using the already existing Mario Kart 8, that's already a damn fine game with very little flaws, especially when it comes to the core gameplay, is a very smart move. It's cost effective and benefits both Nintendo and us as customers. That's why the DLC is priced at $25 and not $60. The DLC also has the added benefit of convenience. With this, I have access to 96 racing tracks without a hassle, without having to quit the game, swap cartridges, start up a new game and have everyone join in again. And I call it convenience, but it's more than that. Having a pool of 96 tracks gives players a lot more flexibility in creating their own little tournaments. If the tracks you want to play during a custom cup are divided amongst 2 different games, well, tough luck. I'd even argue that this system should be the future of Mario Kart. Maybe not with this iteration, but with the next one at the latest. Why shouldn't I have access to every previous racing course? Why shouldn't I be able to just purchase new tracks after a while and not having to get a new installment every few years? The notion that only a new game can provide meaningful content is outdated, especially when everyone's crying about game development getting so expensive these days. Far Cry 3's standalone DLC Blood Dragon showed how awesome a cheaply made but well-crafted expansion that repurposes existing assets can be for both the developer and the player base. Since the expansion was cheaper to create, they were able to sell it for less. We need more of that. A good game that provides a strong foundation for mid-budget expansions. This should be the principle behind the term live service, and not the current model of making small additions every few weeks to games already designed around wasting your time. I have of course some things to criticize with the DLC. My biggest issue is the way they release the new tracks. They're going to release them in 6 waves with 8 tracks at a time. They did a similar thing with the first MK8 DLC back on the Wii U, where you got only 2 cups at first and the second batch a month or so later. This time they're going to release the 6 parts over the course of 2 years. So that we got all of the tracks by the end of 2023. Which is a bit much, I think. Why not release it in 3 waves with 4 cups at a time and maybe aim for fall of this year? My guess is that this is to get people to subscribe to their overpriced and underwhelming online expansion pack. Because it seems Nintendo is going to include all their major DLCs into their online expansion, which seems like a good business model as soon as there are more games or DLCs included in it. Kinda like Microsoft's Game Pass, just for DLCs. Yeah, it's still a bit weird, but it adds at least a little bit of value to it. But if you get the Mario Kart DLC through your online expansion thingy, you'd want to stay subscribed to it at least until the end of 2023 to keep your access to these courses and get to play the new ones every 3 months or so. So yeah, the DLC suffers because of the terrible subscription system it is bundled with. It also would have been nice to have a bit more than just new tracks in this DLC. A few new characters or cards or multiplayer arenas wouldn't have hurt. Maybe a music player, maybe more options for custom races, like being able to ban certain items. I also hope that some of the new courses are actually new and not just recreations of existing tracks. I mean, MK8 did a great job at reimagining the old tracks, so I don't think it's too much of a problem if all the new tracks are remakes as well, but it would be nice to have something original. And lastly, I would have preferred an option to buy the parts of the DLC individually. I mean, I will buy the whole thing, but maybe not everyone wants to grab every single track. And I believe we had this option back on the Wii U. So that's my take on the issue. Aside from a few minor gripes I have with this DLC, the worst thing being the release schedule, I'm on board with the decision to give us more content for a game we already own, and not waste time and money to create a new game that wouldn't improve a lot, but would cost a lot more. And I think more games should take that approach. That doesn't mean there shouldn't be any more sequels, but there should be a reason for creating a whole new game, and not just an expansion. Looking at you, Fire Emblem 3 hopes.